Welcome to Wrestling with Heart, a podcast looking at pro wrestlers giving back to their community. Join me, Stanley Carr, as I interview wrestling's hottest names who use their platforms as entertainers to raise awareness and do community service. Hello there, and welcome to another edition of Wrestling with Heart. This is the show where we talk with professional wrestlers and professional wrestling personalities about their lives in and outside of the ring, as well as doing acts of charity, community service, and just inspiring others. We're all about motivation and positivity here on the podcast. Hey, I've got a very special guest with me today. He is a legend in the business, former Caribbean Tag Team Champion as part of World Wrestling Council, wrestled for World Championship Wrestling WCW, and was the head of the famous WCW Powerplant back in the day. I'm pleased to welcome the one and only Dewayne Bruce to Wrestling with Heart. Thank you for joining us.
For having me.
Yeah, of course. It's my pleasure. So talk to me about your childhood and upbringing. Where did you grow up?
Well, I grew up in Jonesboro, Georgia, which is south of Atlanta. And how I got started with wrestling, my grandfather used to watch it, and they got me watching it. And we were going down to Griffin. They have on Sunday, they would have a afternoon show and this NWA and a night show at the Omni. So that's how I got involved.
Yeah, I mean, Atlanta's like an historic wrestling town. You know, a lot of the greats came through there. Ric Flair, Dusty Rhodes, Harley Race. It was the hot ticket in town, you know. It was a part of culture.
Right. And I was trained by the Assassin, number one, which is Jody Hamilton. And then Nick Patrick also trained me, which is Jody's son. So I trained for, I don't know, about 3 years, doing construction during the day and training 3 nights a week and wrestling on the weekends. So, yeah. And then I made it to NWA. My first match was an Iron Sheik.
Oh, man. What a way to get started, right? One of the hottest heels in the business.
Yes.
Not the hottest heel in the business. That was a great one we lost, unfortunately.
Yeah, that is. Everybody's got Sheiky stories, you know.
Yeah. What was yours? What can you tell me about him?
Well, we get to the airport and then we try to split up, get cars, you know, and hotels, whatever. I got kind of not stuck with him, but did get stuck with him because everybody plays. But I learned why. I was asleep, and it was about 2:00 in the morning. I heard slap, 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 slap. It's like, what the heck? I looked, and Sheiky was sitting there doing Hindu squats and eating sardines. I was like, oh my gosh. But yeah, that's my first Iron Sheik story.
Oh, man. Just unbelievable guy, man. What a loss.
Business, you know.
No. No, definitely. So you'd mentioned, you know, you got started, you know, Nick Patrick helped train you and getting your foot in the door. Like, who are some of your favorites to watch growing up, who you idolized, you know, when you got started?
Of course, Dusty. Dusty had a lot to do in my career, too. So did Ole Anderson, believe it or not.
Oh, really?
Ole Anderson was actually the one that sent me down to Jody Hamilton School. So I had somebody behind me that kind of stuck with me. You know, you don't hear good stuff about Ole these days, but if you could wrestle, he'd use you. You know, so that's great. Right time and right place. You know.
Yeah, I mean that's the way it works.
Right.
Right.
Like I said, I trained in Lovejoy. That was like the first power plant because that's where I trained Kevin Nash. We moved to Jonesboro to a building over there. That's where I trained DDP, and then at the last power plant, well, no, it's 2 more. At the one that's where I trained Bill and Big Show. Gosh, a lot of football players: Kevin Green, Kevin Nash. I didn't say Kevin Nash. I'm sorry. Just a lot of different ones.
Yeah, I mean, you had a hand in definitely getting them developed and trained for the big time, and even some of the women too.
Oh yeah, Stacy Keebler, a bunch of them, through that, and so I had a great career. I think, that's not. I mean, I did video games with EA Sports. I've done. I mean, I've been all over the world. So, you know, it was a great run when I had it.
Yeah. So you first got started in the business. What can you tell me about your first few matches?
Well, my first match was at J&J Sports Center in Athens, Georgia, as a sports bar. But Jody had he blacked it out and everything. You couldn't tell how big it was or anything. It looked like a big place. But had my first match there, and then I wrestled for Jody, like I said, for 2 years or so before I made it to NWA. I've also built rings, drove trucks, trained people, wrestled. I've
You've
done it
done it.
all.
You've done it all. You've done
Yeah.
it all, which is amazing. Absolutely amazing. So you got started in the business. You're wrestling. Who were like your first or your favorite opponents to work with? I should say.
Oh, Kevin Garvin. He was. In fact, I did a show with him not too long ago, a convention. Uh, uh, like I said, Dusty Magnum TA, which I seen him last convention I done. Looks great. Uh, and like Oli, I watched them growing up and stuff. So all them, they're gonna say older guys. I'm not gonna say older guys, but all them ones that had a deep siege in wrestling. Uh, I had a great influence for them, and they had great influence on me. So
Yeah.
very fortunate. Um, so like I said, I trained Kevin Nash at the first power plant, which was where I trained. Then when we moved to Jonesboro, I trained DDP there, and then I trained most of the other guys at the third power plant. And then at the fourth power plant, when I was at the main office with Paul Ordor, uh, I trained like Bob Sapp and a lot of others. So we
Yeah.
had a dojo in Japan, where we made
Oh
everybody
wow.
uh, clean, sweep, mop, put up rings, tear down rings, uh, wrestle. So they got to learn to respect the business because if things are just given to you, you don't respect it as much as you did when you did it. And
No.
that's what our plant was all about. People was thinking that just running people off, but no, I've trained as many more, probably 10 times more people I ran off. So,
Really.
so it's cool.
Well, wrestling, trained to be a wrestler is not easy. It's very demanding and intense. What was your training like when you started out?
Well, it's pretty much like the power plant. Jody was running it, Nick was running it, so I did the same things I did at the power plant. So I mean, I did Hindu squats like you wouldn't believe, and all that running ropes. I mean, gosh, they wouldn't smart you up to after you were 3 weeks into the business. Everything
Hmm.
was a so they wouldn't smart you up till then. So I didn't smarten people up after to the trials. So, after
When
the trials.
when you're training, what pieces of advice did you take away from your time in the power plant, in the developmental camps, that kind of
Yeah.
stuck with you and you kind of passed on to the next
Well,
generation?
now a lot of mine's because Jody went to Japan about every 3 weeks, so 3 months. I'm sorry. So a lot of that we took from the JoJos in Japan and immigrated it into the American training. You know, uh, I mean, I did make TDP pull down range, so did Kevin Nash. But yeah, just I had a lot of influence from a lot of different people. I stole some stuff for football and different other things that I played over the years. So yeah.
Yeah. You gotta have to earn it, it's about earning your keep and being humble. And so they had to learn at when they were younger to get better, and so that kind of gave you that education that I think is instilled in them, and to now the stars of today are kind of learning the same thing.
Right, exactly. And you looking for a training center now, you got to look at so many angles. What did they do? Do they have connections in the business? Did they, whatever. And I was fortunate enough to be there for our guys to have the open tryouts, and then arrange for them, the office, to come down and look at other people while I was training, get progress like Bill Goldberg. I came up to jackhammer probably, I don't know, 60% of his moves.
Oh,
Uh,
wow. Okay.
Dallas, and um, yeah, Ernest Miller, Natural Born Thrillers. Uh, Gosh, we could be here forever talking about it, but
Yeah. It's a who's who of people you got to train and see their careers rise and take off. Let's talk a little bit more about your wrestling career when you got started. You entered in WCW, what they call a preliminary wrestler. You were known as Sergeant Buddy Lee Parker. Who came up with that gimmick?
Dale did, because Stu Hart called us and wanted us to come to Calgary. I'm gonna say one of the Southern Redneck teams. So, you know, that's where we came up with that. My mom was in the police force. So told us all our badges and everything were real. You couldn't do that now. But we bought state patrol shirts, had our uniforms made, and we actually come up with that ourselves. We drove back then. They wanted to fly us in, but heard about some of the stuff that happened on the road, and we don't want to be involved in that. So we
No.
had drove from Atlanta, Georgia to Calgary and wrestled 2 matches and drove back home. Uh, because Stu was there, but Bruce Hart wasn't there. That weren't promised our contract, and we kept trying to talk to him. We went out the second time. They put the belts on us. Like, no, you hold on to these. And we called Stu when we was in Canada. I mean, we were in oh God, it was back in the States. Anyway, we called him. Explained everything. It wasn't like what they promised or anything. But I wanted to go there, with Chris Benoit and different ones to learn from them too. But unfortunately, our run only lasted a week. So we drove up there and rode some 2 matches and come back in a week.
Wow.
That's
You also were a member of the Dungeon of Doom.
Yes, I was
Well,
elected.
what was that
Uh,
like?
that was quite a while. I mean, wild. You know, uh, Sometimes a squeaky wheel gets the grease. So it had me going out and putting, a lot of guys I trained over, right? So
Yeah.
I had to go out and wrestle this Chad Brock guy. He's a country music singer. They were trying to bridge the difference between country music and wrestling.
Hmm.
Uh, Snapped, man. I snapped. He didn't get nothing but the finish. Then I beat him up going out of the ring and down the entrance. I don't know what made me do it. I just did it. And I got a stalemate elevation when I come back from the dressing room. And then Kevin Sullivan was a booker at that time. So thank God for Kevin. I've been to quite a few conventions. Um,
Hmm.
um Great guy. Uh,
Yeah.
um, but he count him and uh uh God, what was that? I can't remember now. Sorry, I got a little. I've had 12 concussions, so I got a little. Um, um, but Jimmy Hart
Yeah.
ever come up with that. Then eventually the Leprechaun movie series wrote them a letter to cease and desist, even though and all the other stuff. So I had to stop that. Then I did the Sergeant Buddy Lee Parker Jack Boot bill. Waco happened. That killed that.
Uh,
So I've had, and then I just went back to Sarge, um, known for what I was training for.
yeah. I mean, it's good to have gimmicks that, are you, but turned all the way up. I feel like that's kind of important. Um,
one that's like yourself in
Yeah.
real life. And, I was like, darn, hey, I don't got a movie part in The Longest Yard, and there's Bill Goldberg, uh, Kevin, Steve Austin, uh, Bob Sapp that I trained was in there. All that, and I couldn't get a part, but that's okay. You laugh at things now, because that's
Yeah.
all you.
So let's talk about, this particular gimmick, your yourself, Sarge. Um, what can you tell me about like matches or memories you had under that character?
Oh, I had a bunch of great matches. I mean, anybody with like a half shooter, like Chris Benoit, uh, Dave Taylor, uh, Steve Regal, all them guys in that is kind of known in that section of things. I had great matches with them because we didn't call nothing, man. We called it in the ring on the fly, even on TV. Yeah, we got our finish. Who's gonna win or lose, but we didn't plan it out like they do today. So that was, I think that's the most match, best matches I ever had is ones I didn't call. I just called it in the ring and on the fly, and a lot of times down it when I was wrestling even bigger name guys, I was calling the matches to them on the fly too. So, and Nick Patrick don't get his due.
No, I don't
I've
think he
seen
does.
turn around. Even the top guys get turned around, and he get them back on track. You know, and stuff. So he don't. Them referees don't get their due either.
No, I mean they're like essential to the show, the match. Nick Patrick was one of those guys. Charles Robinson, who's now with WWE, he's been there for years, but he was a WCW guy too.
Right. I have great friends with Charles. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Any fun
So
any fun referee stories you can share?
oh man, there's been so many ribs. Probably I can't remember 'em.
Yeah.
There's uh I was actually I was down in St. Thomas, to do the ring. Flair was opening a gym up down there, but I did the ring and then I was refereeing, and went to the bar after the deal. I got a beer and I had to go to the bathroom. So I come back and I looked over and the nasty boys are looking at me like, "Go ahead, drink your beer." I was like, "Sir, give me another beer. I don't want this one. You just opened it." "No, I don't want it." Because they were famous for drugging people and shaving their eyebrows.
Uh
If did me, we'd have to fight. So
just practical jokesters.
yeah, yeah, just all the time. Owen Hart was a great practical joker too.
Mhm.
Great wrestler, great person. You know,
Yeah.
uh, now Owen, I had great matches with Owen. Me and uh, 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 I'm sorry. Go ahead and start. I figured it out after you.
You're t-
Go ahead.
we're thinking about Brett?
Yeah, Bret Hart. He got kicked by Bill Goldberg, and he
Mhm.
blamed him, saying I didn't put emphasis on protecting your partner.
Hmm.
I was like, "Shit, Brett, you come from the dungeon. You come to fuck through the dungeon. This guy's 290 pounds, getting the biggest push even over Hulk Hogan ever got. If you don't know to get your hand up when he's going to kick you, that's your fault. You got to learn to protect yourself with the people that you're with too. Like Luger. I knew he couldn't bust a grade. So, but he towed you to death when he kicked you. So got to learn to protect yourself in the ring, even with the top guys, and that's why the cardio was so important at the power plant. Because if you blew your guy up, you can go ahead and get your stuff in. You know, within the confines of what they want. But you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, from what we're, talking about so far, you had a foundation which you were teaching your students at the power plant. You had like multiple locations, just a who's who of talents that have gone on and done great things. One of which we're talking about him now, Bill Goldberg, who went on to be just such a phenomenon in the world of pro wrestling. Like he was your Hulk Hogan in
Yes,
WCW. He
yeah.
was.
I think he's even over more than Hulk Hogan was at his prime. I don't know. It's hard to judge them centuries from century. I mean, 10 years from 10 years, but yeah, he was our Hulk Hogan. Yeah, definitely was.
When
Uh,
yeah. Oh no,
uh,
I'm sorry. I'll let you can finish.
oh, say Stan Hansen got me and Dale in Japan. Uh, Great honor, but we didn't get our finishes on tape recorder from the other side. We
Hmm.
didn't nothing. They they're more like states when the Bill Watts was running and that stuff, where babyface and heels didn't travel together. Uh, we kept it old school. Oh,
They're protecting kayfabe.
taking kayfabe. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, when you had Bill Goldberg at the power plant, tell me about, walk me through like the development of a talent like a Bill Goldberg. How were you able to get him disciplined and
Well,
trained
I'm
properly? And
about Bill. He 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 kind of looks out for himself. He wants to know everything. Wants you to teach him everything he could take. I said, well, first off, bring your camcorder so you could take it home every day, and you'll see what I said, if I liked it or didn't like it, or if you saw something you did like and you want to improvise, put it into your deal to do it. And he got that from the not I won't say UFC, but it was like their form of Japan, you know,
yeah, mixed
uh,
martial arts.
martial arts. That's what made him different too, is that he had that background,
Yeah.
But I still had him do squats and different other stuff. He did a lot of training that everybody else did that people don't believe, but he did. At the same time, I'd have the Giant, Paul White,
Big Show, yeah.
and Ron Reese, which was another 7'2" guy. Uh, all them three at the same time, and I had four rings, and I was jumping ring to ring all day long, 5 days a week, or wherever how long I was, not booked somewhere or done something. So yeah, I was when Ric Flair and Hogan was sold out all over Europe. I flew from I was up and doing the video game. I flew there to Atlanta, switched bags with my wife, flew into Hamburg, Germany, and uh, gosh, yeah, they had the ring set up in Berlin outside, and it was snowing. But I had to tell them what we're going to do, what they need to do. I run the ropes. I do check the ring all out because it's sold out show. You can't afford for a ring to break.
Hmm.
That's when you got the bigger guys like Paul White and them guys. I was building rings, so I had rings, the
Yeah,
ropes.
you gotta make sure those ropes, work properly so that bigger guys can, they don't hurt themselves or they don't break anything.
Right.
It's all protected.
And I had to put extra ring ropes on the truck. Had to put extra stringer on the truck, just in case that happened. They could go, commercial break, whatever, and switch it out and keep going.
Yeah.
Uh, I've been in Japan with Dr. Death, Steve Williams, Terry Gordy, me, Stan Hansen, all in the ring at the same time. That was a great honor, man. But
Yeah.
the young like me and stuff were going to be the ones that got beat up. So,
Well,
uh,
Japan has a different culture compared to the United States when it comes to professional wrestling. It's very they take it seriously. It's intense.
well, yeah, the Japanese ride in one bus and the other gaijins or whoever you want to call them ride in another bus separate from them. I went to All Japan with Baba,
Hmm.
Bruce, them guys,
Yeah.
Uh,
Big
but
Red Bruiser Brody.
nothing like being in the Budokan and went over, with that many people standing and biggest show that they had at that time.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm very fortunate. I thank my blessings every day.
And you also went to Puerto Rico too. How was that experience?
It was pretty wild, I'll tell you the truth, because we went down and wrestled Jose, which was like the Booker, and his brother, which survived with Bruiser Brody. I'm not going to talk about that much more. But yeah, it was wild. I didn't know we had to run to the ring because everywhere was outside but TV. And some of
Yeah.
them TV. So you hear bottles, rocks, and all kinds of stuff come whistling by your head. You run to the ring, and then we were heels. On top of that, they had somebody driving us, and all the crowds pushing the van back and forth trying to get to us as we're leaving. That's some tense. Uh,
Oh, sure.
know. Dale went back. I, I didn't go back because I had to get back to school. Had to train people. I had to, I was much more involved than Dale was at that time. And but yeah, we had a great time there. Just I tell you what, I'm be honest with you. I went to the ring with my airline ticket and my money stuffed in a plastic bag in the bottom of my boot. I might get on the plane funny, but I was going home.
Oh man.
Crazy it was at that time.
Yeah, it definitely seemed like it was a party.
Yeah, yeah, and I was the one go. I was always looking to get home. Uh, I wasn't a partier like Flair or some of them other guys. I sure when Flair was buying everything, yeah, I went and had a couple beers and a chicken salad, whatever, so I can get up and go to the gym next morning. Because finding gyms is one of the most important things you can do on the road.
Oh yeah. I mean, you got to work out and stay in shape. That's the life of a professional wrestler is to go out and get ready and get in shape.
Exactly. You got to stay in shape.
Hmm.
Wrestling's unlike anything. We don't have an off season. We don't have none of that. A lot of times we're injured. We still wrestle. I wrestled when I had a concussion in Japan. I didn't go home. Um, Same when making a video game. I got a concussion up there too. So, even when it's supposed to be safe, it's still not safe sometimes.
Right. When you're making these video games, we've been talking about this, you know, throughout the podcast. What's the biggest challenge as far as like
Okay, the biggest start with is they had us sit up in a hockey rink when I first went there. I'm like, man, somebody's gonna get hurt. They can't deal with this cold. It's got to be warm. Are you gonna get hurt? So for fighting them, then finally we got into a nice area. Then we got into the main EA Sports Studio. But I had to do everything: a take and a B take. And a take, if they get it perfect, is two times: one giving and one receiving the move. So if you messed up, you had to go four times on one move. So, and I had to do everything that's ever been done in wrestling. And I made it with people's out of school, like Mike Sanders and Felix Skipper and Alan Funk, and them guys that I trained. And the only time they sent me top guys is when we were launching a video game. And they sent me Bill and Conan, Bam Bam Bigelow, and me. And I get a call from Eric Bischoff right before the launch. He goes, these guys, Bam Bam and Bill was on the next pay per view. They can't get hurt. So you know what that made me? The bouncing ball. So yeah. So I got a lot of great pictures of me and Bill in the ring. Him pressing me over his head, throwing out of the ring. See, what you don't see is Bill Bam Bam Bigelow kicks me, and us going through a table, and all kinds of stuff launching a video game. But needless to say, it was a great experience. I've had other video games contact me because of what I've done. So yeah, it was pretty awesome. They treated me top notch.
yeah,
Airport,
definitely.
everything. But they first had Ted DiBiase there supposed to oversee it, but they saw that he can offer knowledge, but he can't actually offer to do the moves. I ended up taking his spot. Didn't mean to take his spot, but I did. Just ran with it. That's how most of my career has been. I don't know. I set my mind to it, and I keep at it till I got somewhere. And you know, and I didn't have the Ric Flair money or any of that, but I quite lucrative in my field too, because I was doing a little bit of everything.
Yeah, it seems like you're doing a lot of stuff in the business, not just being in the ring, but training and being in video games and all kinds of stuff. Was there like one particular role that you enjoyed the most?
Probably training the guys. I enjoyed wrestling too. Those are the top two things I enjoyed. But it's something to see your student get out there and make it big time. There's no better feeling than that. And I dare say there's not anybody that's training or anybody that's training as I have. And it seems like I'm shooting my own horn, but it's the truth. So the Powerplant website, look at the hundreds of people that came through there. Um, uh, you know, you'd be amazed.
Yeah.
And many times I've wrestled people out of the power plant and said they felt comfortable with me, so they're trying to get them over on TV, like Bill Kazmaier, a huge guy. Good grief, stronger than anyway. But that was kind of my job too, to make them feel comfortable, so they can get the most out of what they could out of that particular talent.
Yeah. And now you're still in the business, right? Are you working for the revived Georgia Championship Wrestling?
No, they haven't given me a call, so I'm not involved in that. I'd love to be, but I don't know if they know how to get in touch with me. But no, I'd like to be involved in that. I'm going to conventions and podcasts and special events when they want me to try to referee or something. I do that, but as far as going in and taking bumps and all that, like I did at the power plant, I'm not doing that.
No.
Close for that. Um,
Let's kind of switch gears and talk about the charity work or service work that you've done outside of wrestling. What organizations have you worked with?
well, I'm an Eagle Scout myself. Uh, so I even went to the Explorer Scouts from Eagle. So I worked some with them. I worked for the homeless downtown to feed the homeless and stuff. I sponsor myself. I donate money to Shrines Network. I try to spread around as many things as I can in Shriners Club, even for animals. And I've got several charities I help sponsor, and then we do things like building housing for veterans and stuff. Because I've had a extensive construction background, so I'm fluid with that too. So,
Oh, wow.
yep,
How long have you been involved with construction?
pretty much all my life. My dad was he built custom homes.
Oh,
So,
wow.
at a young age, I mean, in junior high, I was carrying shingles up on the roof and all kinds of stuff. So, yeah, I got an engineering degree.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I've done a lot of things, man. People don't realize. I mean, I've worked on commercial buildings, did build a house 60,000 square foot at one level, and had like 5 crews running all at the same time, and then do my normal job, run the building during the day.
Yeah. I mean, I've been through Atlanta. Like Atlanta's got some pretty nice buildings. They're just
Yeah,
gorgeous to look at.
yes, they do. Uh, and a lot of areas are getting revitalized, and coming back. And it's a lot of great things happening in Atlanta, and a lot of great things happen all over the world. But I've been really blessed. I am actually married to my high school sweetheart, uh, 7381. So if I tell you something, that's how long we've been together.
Oh,
I
wow.
have 3 great sons and a grandson that you saw. He's 4 going on 40. So owns himself better than I can.
Yeah. Well, it seems like you're wrapped up in a lot of different projects and you've helped out with numerous charities. Was there like a particular moment that you enjoyed working with the most?
Well, I worked with a church one time. This guy lost his home in a flood, and unfortunately, son got washed away too and died. So I worked with a church and show construction. We actually built him a home. Uh, uh, so I had great vendors that I worked with for his painting, sheetrocking, and doing electrical work, plumbing work, all that, and probably building him on that home is probably one of my greatest memories. Then when I went to, I don't know if you know this, but when I went to do the video games, I went to uh, the Stampede. Not Stampede. What is that hockey team up there?
Calgary, the
Canuck
Calgary. Yeah, Vancouver Canucks.
house for kids that had cancer and different stuff. And one of the times I was there, man, this guy was such a Bill Goldberg fan, man. I actually brung up a bunch of stuff for him, shirts, bandanas, and a bunch of stuff. But I called Bill and got Bill on the phone, and Bill talked to him.
Oh,
It was just elated. I mean, he was just overwhelmed. It was unbelievable. And then the next time I went, he had passed away, unfortunately. Uh, but to make it happen for that kid, that's one of the biggest moments I could ever have.
oh,
Right?
sure. Yeah. I mean, that's
Uh,
his favorite wrestler.
and to see him smile from ear to ear, all dressed up in Bill Goldberg stuff and talking to Bill and stuff. That's some of the stuff I think WCW should have took advantage of. Not just because I was doing it, because there's things like out there that they didn't even know what was going on. That
Yeah.
had a hand in and was glad to have a hand in. And but yeah, anyway, yeah, that's what do you got now?
And you got to wrestle with Goldberg, I believe, too. You had like I think it was one of his last matches in WCW. It was like on a.
Right. Sorry, my dogs are interrupting. Hey, yeah, we had our last match. Me and Bill versus Lex and Buff. Uh, I got a funny story for you.
Yeah.
I was there. I went and worked out. I did the ring. Went and worked out. I developed migraine headaches like you wouldn't believe, and I had a super bad migraine. And Bill comes up to me and goes, "Well, you'll beat me tonight." I'm like, "What? I'm gonna beat you? What are you talking about?" I said, "I'm gonna beat you." And they had that in the plans, but nobody's ever told me that. So
Really?
yeah, I hate it now because well then and now, but it's just something that happens. Neither the office or neither Billy come to me right before that match to tell me what was going on. So I
Huh.
just went to other matches. So
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to think like just a couple months later the company WCW just shut down. I mean, do you remember the day that uh everything was sold off to WWE?
yeah, I had stuff from Andre the Giant, Japan stuff to gosh, a lot of stuff. From people all walks of wrestling. They wouldn't let me take anything out of there. They actually had armed guards searching our bags when we left. That was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, just so many people like losing their jobs and of course some, eventually went up north to WWE, but that was like an end of an era. I mean, WCW like was an historic promotion because dating back to, the days with TBS and NWA and
Yeah,
Jim
it was.
Crockett.
Uh, them guys are already on contract. Anyway, they just have to sit out and wait their contract. But like me, it affected me right away.
Why do you feel passionate about helping others in your community?
Well, I feel passionate because know, uh, we wasn't a rich family when I was growing up either. know, uh, my dad, had his own construction company, but went by word of mouth, not like it is now. Where you buy something and put it on whatever. So and then growing up as a kid, I was in all kinds of sports and stuff, and I'll be honest with you, I didn't have greatest. My mom and dad weren't the greatest on terms sometimes. So I pride myself in more sports. So that's what That's what got the whole background going. So yeah, but I feel passionate. They're going at it, aren't they?
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
uh yeah, we got my grandson, a boxer dog. Boy, he's got more energy than I ever seen.
Oh wow.
But yeah, I love helping people, and those saying if you don't give back, got to give back, man. Somebody's got to care about something. Give back to the community. Give back to wrestling. Give as much as you receive.
Yeah, I like to hear that. Dwayne, this has been awesome getting to talk with you on the podcast. Where can people find more about you? Do you have a website or are you on social media? Anything you want to plug?
They can find me there. I'll give you my email address. So people can contact me that way. It's Sarge, SARGE 7381 at gmail.com. And I also do uh, people wanting to be trained and want to learn something new. I do kind of classes like that too as well, um, which help me give back and help learn people. Hey, there's not just one way of wrestling. There's so many ways, And the old stories you used to tell that you had a baby face and a heel, you could outrest the heel. That don't mean the heel can't wrestle. He can still wrestle, but you out wrestle him gives him reason to what? Cheat. And and then hopefully at the end they're screaming for them to kick my butt at the end. That's what you want. At the end, want everybody on their hands and clapping and cheering for him to that babyface kick my butt. And if he does it all right, finish don't even matter really. The end result is that big comeback. That's what everybody really strives to get. So
Yeah, for sure. I like to hear that. Well, Dwayne, thanks again. You're more than welcome to come back on.
just let me know when.
Will do. Thank you again. This is Wrestling with Heart. I hope you found this podcast to be informative and entertaining. If you did, please hit the subscribe button and look out for the next edition.